So, you know that feeling, right? That belief, it's just sort of baked into us since we were kids, that if you just grind harder, success will follow. Our teachers said it, parents definitely echoed it, bosses reinforce it all the time. Work hard and you will succeed. It's almost become this sacred rule, hasn't it? Like a basic truth for how we should approach work, approach life. We push ourselves, we strive, stay up late, totally convinced that putting in the effort, that sheer effort is the ultimate key. But what if that standard advice, as familiar as it feels, isn't really the full picture? Our sources for this deep dive, they present a really compelling, maybe even a bit uncomfortable, look at that old saying. What if just working hard on its own, especially now, just doesn't actually guarantee the results we're hoping for? Think about it. What if millions of people genuinely putting in those brutal hours, they end up exhausted, unfulfilled, nowhere near where they thought they'd be? It's a tough idea to grapple with, I know, but the information suggests it's a reality we probably need to face.
Right. And this isn't just about, poking holes in an old phrase. The really critical part here is why. Why is this shift happening now? We're in this incredibly fast-moving, tech-heavy, super competitive world today. Just applying more brute force, putting in more hours. Honestly, it's often inefficient. Sometimes it even backfires. So the old way, work hard, it's kind of evolving into something much sharper. Work smart. In. Now, that doesn't mean being lazy, not at all. It's actually the opposite. It's about being incredibly deliberate, using strategy, using the right tools, even using psychology to really boost your impact and slash the wasted effort. The goal shifts, you see, from just being busy to being genuinely deeply effective.
Exactly. So that's our goal for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the science, the psychology behind working smart, using the insights from our source materials. We'll dig into some powerful, maybe sometimes surprising truths that could honestly change how you look at your career, maybe even your health, your happiness. Get ready to see your work through a completely different lens. Okay, let's dive in. First big point, technology. Think of it as your hidden personal assistant. Just imagine for a second our grandparents' time. Everything done by hand, right? Writing letters, calculating figures on paper, digging through actual filing cabinets. Now look at the phone in your pocket. A single device does all that and way, way more in seconds. It's truly incredible when you stop and think about that jump. But here's the kicker, the sort of shocking part. So many of us, even with these amazing tools, still kind of operate like it's the 1980s, still trying to juggle everything manually in our heads.
It's a really good question. Why do we do that? Why underuse these incredible resources? Well, cognitive science gives us a clue. Our working memory, that mental space where we juggle info right now, it's actually quite limited. When we try to hold endless lists, deadlines, reminders, just cluttering it up in there, we're basically clogging the pipes. We choke its ability to do the really important stuff, creative thinking, strategic planning, real innovation. Technology, used smartly, acts like an external hard drive for your brain. It frees up that vital internal space. Imagine using apps like Notion, Trello, Asana, not just this list, but to actually visualize projects, collaborate smoothly. Or think about automation tools, Zapier, IFTTT, taking over those repetitive admin tasks, things that need doing but drain your energy. Even AI assistants managing your calendar, setting reminders, so you're not relying on your memory for every little detail. Offloading this stuff strategically lets you focus your brain power where it counts on the complex problems only you can solve.
Right, strategic offloading. I like that. And this leads perfectly into the next big idea, the power of pre-planning. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Our sources mention the statistic that the average person apparently wastes something like 21 hours per week. 21 hours on distractions, unplanned stuff, just reacting to things. That's almost a whole work day every single week, just gone, vanished. Imagine getting even half of that back.
It's a staggering amount of lost potential, isn't it? And it's almost always a direct result of not planning intentionally. See, if you don't set your course, you're basically letting emails, interruptions, other people's priorities steer your day. The people who really achieve great things, they don't just work, they design their time. They plan their weeks, their days carefully ahead of time. A common practice is, say, spending an hour Sunday evening mapping out the big rocks for the week, the key goals. Then, each night before finishing up, they identify maybe the top 3 must-do items for tomorrow. And crucially, they don't just hope for free time for focused work. That rarely happens. They actively schedule it. Block it out in their calendar like any other important appointment. Uninterruptible time. This isn't just about efficiency, though. It massively cuts down on stress. It prevents that decision fatigue, that drain from constantly deciding what's next. You start the day already knowing exactly where your focus needs to be.
Okay, designing your time, not just reacting to it, makes sense. And speaking of things that steal time, let's tackle two big ones, meetings and emails. The tough reality. Here's something that, well, might make you nod your head. A huge number of meetings. They're just not very effective. Studies or sources point to show almost two-thirds, like 67%, have no clear agenda. And even more telling, nearly three-quarters, 73% of people, admit they're doing other work during meetings. It's often just this collective time waster dressed up as collaboration.
That really hits home, doesn't it? And emails. Constantly checking your inbox. It's kind of the same problem, just smaller scale, more frequent. It keeps your brain locked in reactive mode. Always responding, never really initiating deep, focused work. That state is the absolute enemy of concentration, of getting meaningful things done, of real creativity. So working smart means setting some pretty firm boundaries here. Imagine, what if you only handle meetings and emails on, say, 1 or 2 specific days a week, or specific time blocks? Instead of those endless back-and-forth email chains, maybe shift project discussions to collaborative tools like Slack or Google Docs. Resolve things faster, more directly. And here's a challenging question for you. Do you really need to be in every single meeting you're invited to? Give yourself permission to politely decline if your input isn't truly essential. You might honestly be shocked at how much focused, productive time suddenly opens up in your schedule when you start trimming these things strategically.
Being more ruthless with your time, I get it. Which brings us neatly to the art of saying no. It sounds a bit backwards, maybe, but could trying to do too much be a bigger obstacle than not doing enough? A lot of people stumble not because they can't do the work, but because they just say yes to everything, every request, every opportunity. But the hard truth, the one we often avoid, is that every time you agree to something unimportant, you're automatically saying no to something that is important, something crucial to your main goals, or even just your sanity.
It's such a critical point. The sources use this phrase, brutal honesty. You need it with yourself, and sometimes with others too. You have to become fiercely protective of your most limited resources, your time and your mental energy. They don't regenerate instantly. This means getting systematic about it. The sources suggest a framework. First, eliminate. Be ruthless. Cut out tasks that aren't actually moving the needle on your key objectives. If it's not essential, it's noise. Second, delegate. If someone else can do a task effectively, let them. Your job isn't to do everything yourself. And third, automate. Use tech for those repetitive, low-value things that just eat up time. Steve Jobs had that great quote, right? Focus is about saying no. The deeper insight here is that lasting success often isn't about the volume of stuff you do. It's much more about the strategic choices you make about what you don't do. Intelligent omission, really.
Intelligent omission, I like that. Okay, here's a really vivid analogy from the sources. Your brain is a Ferrari, but most people use it like a shopping cart, loading it with random things until it breaks down. That paints a picture, doesn't it? Which leads to our next point. Free your brain. Write it down. We do tend to try and hold everything in our heads, don't we? To-do lists, half-baked ideas, reminders, worries about things. It's no surprise so many of us feel perpetually overloaded, mentally cluttered.
Absolutely, it's a perfect analogy. Our brains are amazing, but they're not designed for infinite, perfectly indexed storage. That's not their strength. When you make a habit of getting things out of your head, tasks, ideas, decisions, worries, by writing them down, physically or digitally, you literally free up processing power. This isn't just about tidiness. It's about creating the mental space needed for genuine creativity, for innovative problem solving, for deeper thinking. I mean, can you really access your best thinking if your mind is constantly juggling a mental grocery list? Probably not. History's great thinkers seem to get this instinctively. People like Einstein, Da Vinci, Newton, they were all obsessive note-takers, compulsive almost. They knew memory can be flaky, unreliable. But creativity, insight, the potential is limitless when the brain isn't bogged down with recall duty. So whether it's a simple notebook or a sophisticated digital system like we mentioned earlier, the key habit is having a trusted external place for everything. Get it out of your head.
Okay, externalize everything. Don't use your Ferrari brain like a shopping cart. Got it. Now let's talk about procrastination and the secret of microtasks. Ever face a really huge goal and just feel stuck? Frozen. The idea of write a book can feel paralyzing, or launch a whole new business, or even lose 20 pounds. It all seems so massive, so overwhelming. Where do you even start? That feeling, that overwhelm is probably the #1 reason people procrastinate and eventually just give up on big dreams.
Totally. It's classic overwhelm paralysis. And a really powerful technique our sources highlight is breaking those giant, scary goals down, way down, into tiny, almost laughably small, manageable steps. Microtasks. So don't focus on write a book. Focus on write one paragraph, or maybe even just write one sentence today. Don't aim to start a business. Aim to validate one assumption, or make one phone call. Instead of lose 20 pounds, maybe start with cut out sugary drinks this week or walk for 10 minutes after dinner. The reason this works so well is psychological. Your brain releases a little bit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical, every time you complete a task, even a tiny one. That small win feels good. It creates a sense of progress, a feeling of forward motion. And that momentum, according to our sources, is the most powerful engine for achieving big long-term goals. It turns scary mountains into a series of small, manageable, even enjoyable steps.
Building momentum through tiny wins. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, another truth bomb coming up, challenging a really ingrained habit. Stop measuring hours, start measuring results. We've been sort of programmed, maybe since the Industrial Revolution, to think that more hours worked equals more productivity. Longer hours, be a better worker. But the evidence just doesn't back that up. Not really. Our sources point out that productivity actually tends to tank pretty sharply after about 50 hours a week for most people. Diminishing returns kick in hard. Yet that old mindset lingers, doesn't it? Lots of workplaces still kind of reward FaceTime people who stay late rather than focusing on who actually delivers the best results, maybe faster, more efficiently. It feels like a very outdated way of thinking.
It really does raise a fundamental question, doesn't it? About how we even define work or productivity. Smart workers, instinctively or deliberately, they understand that real value isn't measured by hours clocked in. It's measured by the actual outcomes, the impact they create. It's about the quality and significance of the output, not just the quantity of time input. Did you solve that tricky problem? Did you deliver that project early and under budget? Did your work actually make a positive difference? Those are the results that truly matter. Think about it historically, like Thomas Edison, you mentioned him earlier. Nobody really cares exactly how many hours he spent tinkering on a specific Tuesday. What we remember, what changed the world, is the light bulb, the phonograph, the results. History remembers impact, not timesheets.
Results, not hours. A powerful shift in perspective. Now, as we start to bring this all together, we need to touch on something a bit more serious, the hidden danger of hard work culture. Because all this relentless focus on just working harder without thinking smarter, it can actually be, well, destructive. Burnout isn't just a buzzword anymore. The World Health Organization, the WHO, actually recognizes it now as a real workplace health issue, a serious occupational hazard.
It's incredibly important to acknowledge this. There are severe, tangible consequences. Chronic overwork, just grinding away endlessly, is strongly linked to really serious health problems. We're talking increased risks of heart disease, clinical depression, severe anxiety, and tragically, sometimes even premature death. There's even a specific term in Japan, karoshi, which literally means death by overwork. That's not just an abstract idea. It's a recognized social phenomenon driven by extreme work pressure. It shows how dangerous this culture can become. Think about it. If sheer hard work alone was the guaranteed path to success, well, every coal miner, every factory worker pulling double shifts, every utterly exhausted nurse, they'd all be millionaires, wouldn't they? But they're not. Why? Because success today, especially in our interconnected, tech-driven world, it's fundamentally about leverage. It's about strategy, efficiency, using tools wisely, not just raw sweat equity.
Right. Leverage, not just sweat. And our sources are crystal clear on this. The future definitely belongs to the smart workers. Look at the people really shaping things today, the tech innovators, the influential online creators, the founders of disruptive startups. Are they succeeding just by outworking everyone else hour for hour? Usually not. They're winning because they're masters of leverage. They use technology brilliantly, they say no strategically, they focus relentlessly on results, and they build and utilize powerful networks and automation. And here's the real kicker. Often these incredibly successful people actually work fewer hours than the average employee, yet they achieve vastly more, earn significantly more. They haven't found some magic trick to avoid effort. They've just mastered the art, the science of working smart. So after exploring all this, where does it leave you, the listener? We've dug into some maybe uncomfortable truths about that old work hard mantra, and hopefully we've unveiled the really liberating, powerful potential of shifting to working smart. It really is about a conscious change in approach, moving past just putting in the hours, and instead embracing strategy, using the amazing tools available, and applying those psychological insights. Insights that don't just boost your output, but also actively protect your health and well-being.
Exactly. To really sum it up, the world today doesn't primarily reward perspiration. It rewards strategy. It rewards critical thinking, careful planning, and the intelligent use of every advantage you can find to reach your goals more effectively, more efficiently, and with far less chance of burning out.
That really is the core message. The next time someone just throws out that phrase, work harder, pause for a second. Remember that hard work. It's only part of the equation. It's necessary, sure, but it's not sufficient on its own. The real secret, the genuine game changer, is learning to work smart. And when you do that, hard work stops being your master and starts becoming your servant, a tool you apply intelligently. So maybe take a moment after this to, how could these ideas reshape your own work, your career path, your personal definition of a successful, balanced, and happy life?